we should be streaming. I'll just double check this is all working for my last minute decision. And it looks like we're coming through loud and clear. Fantastic. So guys, this was a bit of a last minute decision. I only remembered, realised that it's 3 years this week since we started Nuggets News, and definitely gone for the retro look in the tile in case you haven't noticed. Crypto news is in the house. So for those that don't know, Omar, who runs Crypto's News, was one of the reasons that I started a YouTube channel. He was one of the only people talking about Ethereum back in early 2016, I think it was, wasn't it, Omar? And up until that point, I'd been a Bitcoin maximalist and had a flutter on some altcoins and lost a bit of money. And then finally put my head down and thought, you know what, I keep hearing about this thing called Ethereum. I'm going to read about it. And that's when the DAO happened. Ethereum smart contract got hacked and drained, and Omar was one of the people that was commentating that, you know, everything is going to be okay, but the price was falling 60, 70, 80%. From $20 down to around $6, $5. I think it bottomed at, and I definitely bought more on the way down because I was so confident on Ethereum and all the developers on Reddit saying this is fine, it's just a bug, we've got to fix it. But if you went over to the Bitcoin subreddit, they were all saying, see, Ethereum doesn't work, you can't do smart contracts on blockchains, the project's dead. So we had the two sides, and that's what makes a market. I guess the rest is history. So yeah, we've got a few starting to tune in. Oh wow, we're already up to 100. So thanks guys. If you've got your crypto groups and you want to share it, or your group chats with your friends or whatever, we'll give everyone just a minute or so. I've already started waffling on, but I guess this was just a way to give back to you guys. I haven't been able to do as many videos lately for a few reasons, which I might get into in just a second. But just give back to the Nuggets community and family, and I'll try and answer as many questions as I can about anything you want to look at. So predominantly, I guess, the charts, but if there's a bit of news or a tweet, drop that stuff in the comments, and I'll do my best to give you guys all the good stuff. We've had some great trades and investments lately, a few bad ones that I just spoke about with my group. So I got stopped out twice of the stock market. So like a lot of people, I thought that we were going to get, we did get two nice trades here where we shorted this bounce on the stock market, where traditionally this is where stock markets sort of bounce up to. And I was one of those people that thought it's going to, go sideways or grind lower, but there's no way I thought we'd be up here within striking distance of record highs on the S&P 500. And if we just have a look at the NASDAQ ETF, you can see that we actually made new highs, and that is not a pretty candle. I think that's abandoned baby, and you don't get those in crypto because of the gaps. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the name of that 3-star pattern, and that is one of the worst reversal candlestick patterns there is. So that would suggest that we've got further downside. But hey, what have we been saying lately? That in this world of money printing, it is just a parallel universe. And I think I joked on Twitter about when we started to have this rebound and unemployment statistics started to roll in, and we got to about here, and I think we'd had a 20% bounce, and I said, we'd need to get 40 or 50 million unemployed to get a 50% bounce. And it's basically happening like the strangest thing you could possibly think of. The answer is just print more money. So let's bring up Zero Hedge. And I think last night after the bloodbath, Steve Mnuchin pretty much came out straight away and said, we're probably going to need to print another $1 trillion or $500 billion, whatever it was. So that is just their answer now. I can't find that article, but we'll cover all that in Sunday's video. But I mean, you guys get the drift of it. The answer to absolutely everything is just print money, and here we are already having a pretty strong bounce on the US markets. But I think that gold is a bit of a canary here in the gold mine. Dad jokes. Well, I've only been a dad for a year, a bit over a year for the channel. So more dad jokes are welcome these days. They were just bad puns before that. But yeah, so gold really holding strong here compared to the last crash where it sold off like everything else. And that to me is maybe a sign that this is a little bit different, even if we have another leg down. The first time around, everyone was scared and panicking and selling everything. This time around, I think people they know what's coming. The Fed, government spending, place your bets basically, and people are starting to have very strong hands around gold. Silver, as I just did a big write-up for our members about a lot of this stuff, but the gold to silver ratio is back under 100 now. So you can just do your quick maths, 1737 gold divided by 1764. So as long as silver's a little bit higher there, we know that ratio is back under 100. Oil's recovered a little bit. So I think things are just in a lot better position, and it's just the liquidity that's just been flooded. I actually think the Fed have printed too much money. For those of you that don't know, you can just type M2 to get M2 money stock. It doesn't look very pretty on a daily chart, so let's get up a monthly, or even just make this a line. And you can see that it's just really accelerated, like already going pretty steep in terms of the money that's being created, but then it just goes parabolic there and takes off lately. So I guess that's the exponential nature of the debt-based monetary system that most of you guys are probably familiar with by now. If you haven't watched this one that I put together for you, top 10 finance and economics documentaries, top result there. These are sort of the ones that really shaped my journey. And there's probably more that have come out since. Feel free to drop your favorites in the comments, guys. But Mike Maloney was a big influence on me. But yeah, once you go down that rabbit hole and learn about banks, debt, and money, and one of the people that I just found so straightforward, and even though the media would laugh at him, and that's Professor Steve Keen, who I've interviewed I think 3 times now on the channel, but he was one of the guys that kept getting laughed at and saying their economic models are wrong. And then finally the housing market crash happened, and people say, you're the broken clock, you write twice a day, and here we are at another crisis. So I guess the basis of everything that is wrong with the Fed and government policy about how they treat money, it all comes back to the fact that it's treated like a science, whereas it's very much not. The real world is obviously a very complex organism, and economists try and put all these jigsaw pieces together, and they want to have this model that reaches equilibrium, and it just doesn't work that way. So they think with these 2 levers of printing money and dropping interest rates, and now all of a sudden they're going into all these other directions because they have to, because they've basically been, bullshitting the whole time. And here we are at another crash, and this time it's taking more and more money because the debt-based system is trying to collapse in on itself. You can't keep borrowing from the future and going further out in all directions. Car loans, student loans, stock market, property in Australia, credit cards, and then after credit cards now we've got all these afterpays in Australia. So I don't think you guys have got that in America. I think Afterpay are looking to expand into America. Is that correct? I'm sure there's some Afterpay shareholders in our audience. But this notion of basically just another fancy way to go into more debt and pay for stuff later because people don't have any money these days, and it's crazy. One of the things I've been wanting to do, and I've got a lot of the paperwork over here, I think, actually. Let me see if I can bring this up. So this is the interview I've been wanting to do with my grandpa, and he had all the records of his house, the building approvals. So the house cost them, I think it was under 10 grand. Anyway, we'll go through all those documents with him, and the year is when they built this house, 72. So this was their first family home, which is about 48 years ago. So he would have been in his 40s. So yeah, so my pa's 85, 86 now, and he has been battling cancer, as some of you guys know, and he's really unwell, not up to doing an interview at the moment. So I'm really hoping he can sort of win that battle and muster up that strength to come on, because I think you guys are going to love him. I think the way that money has changed and the way that older people think about money is just so interesting. You know, they would have never dreamt to go into all this debt, and the fact that he had all those documents, and you can see how much it cost to build a house compared to what we pay now. It's just insane. But I guess that's going off on a bit of a tangent. I'll start to read all your questions in a second. I think inflation, inequality, all these things that have boiled over the surface, it's COVID was the pin that pricked it. But in Australia before that, we had the bushfires, and I think that was a real, I guess, just people go through their lives in this Matrix. The Matrix is my favourite movie of all time, and I can't wait for the new Matrix movie that's coming out fairly soon, I think. But people just go through the 9-to-5 grind, and they never think outside the box. And anything that these big global events really gets people thinking, and maybe they go searching on YouTube for different topics. But once you go down that money rabbit hole, it really just leads you on all sorts of different paths, because money controls our whole life. That's what people literally spend their whole life working for, this thing. What is money? And yet governments can print it out of thin air or spend it out of thin air. And now people are saying, well, why do I have to pay taxes if you can spend money or print for whatever you need? And what is the role of the Federal Reserve? If governments can now just spend money on what they need, why do we need a Federal Reserve to print that money to give to them? Now, the Fed's balance sheet's blown out, and they're really mindful of that. So they haven't been buying as many bonds lately, but it's all just this game. It doesn't really matter what happens. The money's been printed anyway. And then you've got people like Steve Keen that argue about money creation happening at the bank level. And some economists actually can't even agree on this. So when the example I like to give is, say everyone's got a house on the street and they're all my grandparents' age, and they bought it for $1,000, and now it's 50 years later and that house is worth $1 million. So let's just use some round numbers. Let's say it was $10,000, so it's gone up 100-fold now to get to $1 million. Now, someone comes along and buys one house on that street, and they pay that $1 million, and now all the other people in that street, they only ever paid $10,000 for that house. But they all now say, well, my house is worth $1 million too. So they've got this huge 100-fold, 100x return. And they go into the bank and they say, I want to go on a holiday, or, I want to do a renovation, and now you can redraw or lend against the value of that property. So where's that money come from? Does this make sense? It's sort of a similar concept when an altcoin sells like 5% of its supply in an IEO or an ICO on an exchange, and you get this price that's really misleading. And then sometimes CoinMarketCap will report the total market cap, and every now and again you'll see these really strange coins pop up in the top 20 or 30 or whatnot. But it's just all this misleading about, just because one unit, whether it's one coin or one house on the street, got this one value, it doesn't mean that every other unit or every other house on the street is now got that value. And that's where you say, well, where did that money come from? If the bank lends every house on that street that $1 million because their property's worth that much, and they've got that house on there, as a liability if something goes wrong, but where does all this money come from? So really interesting rabbit hole to go down, and I think that is just what Bitcoin is challenging everyone's assumptions of what is money, what is value. We have got this digital thing which you can't print more of. Everyone's desperate for digital dollars and stable coins at the moment. I've been doing a lot of content around that, only because I think it's going to go to this multi-trillion-dollar, replace the SWIFT system, replace the US financial system, replace online commerce with US stablecoins. But that's all just a stepping stone on the path to people going, oh, they can still print trillions of stablecoins. We need a new digital currency that they can't print. And that they make that final leap, that connection to Bitcoin or maybe Ethereum as well. Now it's got its monetary policy, which is making it, I guess, just as scarce as I tweeted with my Ethereum stock to flow model. So that's a bit of waffling on for me to open up. I guess just my thoughts on what's happening at the moment. Let's head over here, and can I bring this up here? So this is Gemma's logged in on this other monitor, and you guys can now see that chat. Hopefully that should work. Maybe not. You guys let me know if that is working, if that is still streaming loud. Still working, guys? Awesome. Thanks. Thank you, Mitch. You're all over it. I'm sure there's an easy way to do this, but I've never set up the live chat. Or maybe it's already on there for you guys. Anyway, let's get into these questions. Okay, yeah. Smash the upvote if you can, guys. So for those that don't know, things that help the YouTube algorithm, the likes, subscribe, notification bell, engagement. So if you're thinking of starting your own YouTube channel, you got to try and make content that is engaging and gets people to watch the whole thing. Then you need to put ads in it. And I know you guys hate ads, but if you don't put ads in it, YouTube won't show it to even your subscribers in your list. And that's what we call shadow banning. And a lot of guys have been getting shadow banned, where they'll put up a video and it won't even show in the list, even if you've subscribed to that person and click the notification bell. You want to make tiles that are clickable. So look, we don't tend to do clickbait. We try to make our titles and tiles attractive, but you see some guys, they do the old Bitcoin going to the moon, like literally every day it's either dumping or going to the moon, and people still like that. Anyway, thanks, John. Yeah, I mean, honesty and integrity, I guess that's what we try to build the brand up on. And I think we're putting out a job. Should I say that? I'll say it. We're putting out a job for another position. I think that's staff member number 16. So it'll only be number 7 full-time, but we've got 16 staff now across a range of things happening behind the scenes. Particularly the research has been a huge focus. We've had some massive wins lately by doing that research. And it does mean a lot when people say that honesty and integrity, because we did have to say no to everything from just scams and money was being thrown at you left, right, and center. And we always thought that we could build a brand longer term, and that attracts a certain type of subscriber as well compared to the clickbaity videos and all that sort of thing. So it's hopefully all coming together. And longer term, I've got some other plans about things that I want to pursue. I really like the Joe Rogan model, how he just talks about anything that's interesting and doesn't get covered a lot in the mainstream. So I mean, I'd love to do that once hopefully we make hopefully we all make a lot of money in investing, but I really hope that translates into a better world, a better decentralized internet. And with that money, obviously I've got some big plans about things I want to do to help. I really want to get into some of the studies around the things I didn't like in pharmacy. So studying psychedelics and other drugs that I believe can be very useful for people with a lot of conditions, and those sort of studies don't get funded a lot. If there's a lot of Bitcoiners that get a lot of wealth behind them, I think there's a lot, like a whole raft of things that I would want to fund and see research into, meditation, the noetic sciences. So I just think there are so many interesting things that don't get the money they deserve. And I think there's a new wave of people coming through that are thinking differently, and they want to see things that aren't on TV every night. They want to see things that are different. They don't want to watch these crappy TV shows, just documentaries on space, how the mind works, all that stuff is so much more interesting to me, and that's what I'd love to put money towards, making documentaries or series or just podcasts about a lot of that. So yeah, third birthday, I only just realised it this week. 270 watching, nearly 100 likes, and you can't put any Bitcoin keywords in these live videos because YouTube have been shutting them down. So you don't turn up in the search results at the moment. That's basically what I'm saying. Credible sources of information. We scan everything. So even from the less credible sites through to the better ones, just to see what people are saying. So that's a big important part of forming a picture of, from the guy that's getting FOMO and doing the wrong thing. You've still got to understand, well, what are they doing? What are they thinking? You don't always just want to, you can do all the research in the world and a coin can be worth way less than a shit coin that's in the top 10. So you've got to be aware of what everyone else is thinking, not just what you're thinking, what you think is good or bad. Who do you align yourself with? Andreas Antonopoulos is probably the number one, isn't he? That's what we're trying to build, I guess, on nuggetsnews.com.au. Like a Google style. If you've been over there, you've seen it, where you can type a search term, and we want to build out a module, a unit, a video tutorial for everything in the world of crypto, and that's all free. And then obviously we want to try and encourage people to support us and become a paying member, where you get our other research reports where we've had some of those coins like Rocket Pool's up 1,000%, Kyber's up nearly 1,000% now after the run this week. Numeray, Matt found that one 500%. So it's crazy that these things are possible. Everyone thought 2017 was a one-off, and I very much thought that fundamental coins would perform strongly again. Humans have these emotional cycles and they get FOMO. And to see some of these coins doing those sort of 500 to 1,000% moves when we haven't really had an alt season is pretty incredible. Morningstar reversal. Thank you, Ben. Island reversal. Yes, I believe that's another one as well. Money print to go brr. Yeah, these are the memes that are just getting people thinking. And once they start printing more money and it's on the newspaper again, there's another wave of people. Top search, Dennis Rodman. Yeah, I've been watching The Last Dance. Just fascinating characters. And again, the coach that brought that team together was right into psychedelics. And there's so much I think we can learn from all that. It's not my birthday, Mad Cow. It's the Nuggets News birthday. But thank you anyway. The titles of the books behind me. Sure thing. All right. Okay, guys, let's whip through these. And I'm not a big reader, to be honest. So I'm a way more of a documentary person to learn. The Crypto Factor is one from Paul, who's got a channel. That's not one that I've read all the way through yet. The Greatest Trade Ever by Gregory Zuckerman. That is a good one, a great one for trading. Nate Silver, The Signal and the Noise. This is a fantastic book about, well, so relevant for crypto, isn't it? Like how to know what to focus on. He had some really accurate election prediction results and got a bit of a name for himself. Harry Dent, The Demographic Cliff. So that book's probably 10 years old now, but he spoke about how all these baby boomers were going to retire and the stock market and everything would head down. And he's been wrong on a lot of stuff, but mainly because the same reason a lot of economists were wrong, because nobody could have predicted that the Fed would print trillions of dollars to fight the natural curve of people retiring and business cycle naturally going down, and they've tried to fight that cycle. The Colder War, Marin Katusa. So Marin's the guy we do the monthly commodities report on these days. He's got premium research newsletter for those of you that are more higher up, more wealthy, that want to invest in the gold and silver, the best stocks. It's an expensive newsletter, but he's had some fantastic picks. Then we've got just a pharmacy book from uni, a natural healing power of vitamins, minerals, and herbs. Around the corner, someone sent me the moral case for fossil fuels when I was starting to talk about renewable energy and the bushfires and climate change. All that stuff got really topical. I try and stay neutral, but someone sent me a book about fossil fuels. Marlise Carroll, so Am I Going Mad? She's a lady I've become friends with who's down the crypto rabbit hole. She's right into all the psychic side of things, which I just find fascinating. And surviving the rise of cybercrime. So we had, I guess, at some stage there was people trying to hack a lot of crypto influencers, and we got targeted, and I guess it forces you to get your act together in terms of your online security. So that was probably a good problem to have early on. Get your passwords, get everything tip top, because there's some nasty people out there. All right, I hope that answers the book questions. Would love to hear my story. Sorry guys, I got a bit of a blocked nose, and I was so crooked during the middle of the week. I think that's the only time I haven't put up daily updates in our members group for 3 years. Okay, so my story, if you guys want the quick version, the investing side of things was losing money in the GFC. My parents lost a lot of money. We had a fund manager, broker, whatever, that comes over, and I actually remember my parents being pretty keen on gold and silver, and obviously brokers can't make a lot of money off that, so he's saying no, gold and silver doesn't give a yield, those usual answers. And this was all just like the worst possible timing. The next few months the GFC unfolded, and my parents, well, in Australia you have to have your super, so my parents lost a lot of money, and so did most people their age, really, didn't they? Because most mum and dad investors don't trade or sell their super or anything like that, and most people lost at least half of their super. So that was pretty devastating for them, and it was devastating for me, but I think they gave me a couple of $1,000s of shares for my 21st birthday, and that's when I wanted to learn more about, well, who's this guy who we're paying money to manage our shares, and why can't he see the biggest stock crash in history coming? And that's just what boggles my mind. All these fund managers and brokers, they consistently underperform the market, and yet they charge fees, and this is just a broken model. And one of the things that upset me while I left pharmacy and medicine, going through and learning about how it all works, how the system works, it doesn't get people healthier. It's the same in the financial world. These people are literally making less money, but they're paying people to lose money for them. So look, everything, I shouldn't say everything, there's a lot of good in the world. There's a lot of things that are part of our everyday lives that we work all day for money, and we don't get taught enough about it. The people that make the most money, they sit up there in these high-rise buildings with these expensive suits on, and what are they doing productive for the economy versus that farmer who's out there doing back-breaking work all day, but he can't make a living, or on the news they can't afford water because it's been sold to an overseas investor. So everything's just sort of like just flowing back up to these guys that are wealthy, that just do nothing productive for the economy. It's just rent-seeking, this parasitic nature. And I think that ultimately all comes back to the financial system, and that playing field will be leveled in some way. So I think it takes, like in a Great Depression, for example, obviously the food and the basic necessities become more valuable. Now all of a sudden people are going to treat that farmer like gold, like a king, and people are going to want to go work for him. I think there's a huge demographic cliff, like Harry Dent says, about farmers. So the average age for farmers, I think in the US, say 60, and their kids don't want to work on farms. So unless we go like full robotic and whatnot, we're just running out of farmers. And it's, food is essential, but people want to go and get a job in the city and punch some buttons on this keyboard and just take their share of all the money the Fed's printing, get rich for doing nothing, and then retire and have all these possessions and sit on a yacht for the rest of your days. I mean, is that a bit boring? Is that what people really want to strive for? I think I'm probably preaching to the converted here, but I think we just really are going to look back and the world's going to be a very different looking place. ASX codes, OOO is the oil ETF, isn't it? What's Bubs and Beston? I won't look those up today. I've been rambling too much and trying to answer some more questions. Afterpay's already expanded to the US. Thank you, James. When is the Matrix? Is that like any day now, or is it next year? I'm getting confused. But that movie's hopefully going to be way more relevant than when it first came out. And hopefully they've got parts about Bitcoin in there and everything. Thanks for the free content, says George. No worries. Head over to the website. There's plenty more there. Literally, we're trying to add to it every day with new modules about every type of investing, not just crypto. What is BTC worth when Tether printed the price up? See, I'm not a believer in that. I've seen these Tether rumors come and go every year, and Tether's always gone through all the rumors and court battles and profit taking shareholders. Tether always comes out the other side. Alrighty, far out. There's a lot that have all come through at once. Okay, let's whip through these. Stock market, we'll keep one eye on Bitcoin. I really do think Bitcoin can surprise us here. That 10% drop, if we just zoom in here, is that going to bring it to back? Let's get this out of the way just for a second. So that 10% drop, I think it's a shakeout. We've got a lot of people that have just been waiting and itching for their chance to get back in. Let's bring, am I hiding that stuff? Let's bring that back up. So just RSI. People have been waiting for the first dip to buy into. So this was a 4-hour oversold. You don't tend to get them too often in genuine bull markets. We got one here, really, really strong bounce. One here, big strong bounce. So these are the sort of things where when we're in a genuine bull market, if you ever happen to get that opportunity for, that oversold on a 4-hour RSI, that's when you can go hard. So this one here, that wouldn't have played out. You could have waited for some divergence there. Still no, but I mean, having said that, that was the nastiest sell-off, and we're only looking at BitMEX where it got a lot worse than other places. That was the nastiest sell-off in of all time in crypto. Was it 50% in the day? 9,000 down to 3.5. Well done, anyone that got some crypto in the 3.5s. Time cycles. So these are ones that I don't talk about as much these days, but they're still really helpful, I believe, for identifying some of the natural flows of the market. Picking, basics of rhythms of the market, days of the week, weekends. Look, the market's changed a lot. Weekends used to pump in a bull market, and now weekends tend to be quiet. But there's just another tool you can have, in your arsenal. But let's bring those questions back up and try and get through a heap of these in the next half an hour. It's going to be an interesting Friday night on the stock market for sure. It can turn into something nasty. If COVID cases started to creep higher again, if they get a big boost over the weekend, and then we have riots, and then it's going to become about government telling people that they can't do something, and they're going to say, well, it's because of COVID, but the rioters and the protesters are going to say, we don't, that's not good enough anymore, or some of them say we don't believe it. There's all these different friction dynamics going on. Why CZ delisted BSV and is now mining BSV? I didn't know CZ is mining BSV. I know Binance is setting up a mining farm, so maybe they're mining whatever can make them some money. Is Coinbase safe to use? Yeah, I mean, always try and get the crypto in your own custody once you've learned how to do that. Best stablecoin, I still think it's probably the Synthetics or the Maker, the decentralized one, so you can move them around, do whatever you want with them. That's all on our website, though, if you go over there and search stablecoins. Thoughts on Bitcoin correlation to S&P 500. So just did a big write-up on this for our members tonight. I think that it's not going to last longer term. I think it's just this short-term thing at the moment. Brave browser fixes this. Yeah, Brave gets rid of the ads. Rolls unfolding on the euro. Head and shoulders pattern not breaking down. I mean, look, the US dollar milkshake theory or my thick shake theory, at the moment, the US dollar is going down, but that is because there's no one demanding US dollars to pay all the international bills. Remember, global trade has really slowed down. So once economies open and everyone's got to pay off all this debt, then they're going to need those dollars again. But at the moment, they're getting a pause, a 6-month loan holiday. So the demand for global dollars is less, and so it doesn't really surprise me the US dollar's gone down a bit, and they're printing trillions of dollars. So it's the cleanest dirty shirt in the laundry still, but I think Raul is still probably onto something. We saw US interest rates get crushed this week when Powell spoke about zero. When am I going to call my video top 3 altcoin picks? Look, I didn't want to do a video like that because I think that they're kind of cheesy, but I do think, and the members know which ones are my favorites because we do these research reports for them. But I do think there's probably 10 good DeFi coins, and you'd have a fair idea of what they are. But I think I own most of them. If you're in our group, you can look at my portfolio. But there's so much opportunity at the moment with good projects. When is the Nuggets News app coming out? We're ironing out the final bugs in our portal where you'll go and you'll log in, for those of you that don't like Facebook. And that's going to just be so schmick, hopefully. Team have been working on that for probably a year. Hopefully it's an industry-leading product. And then the next step after that, these things take time, but we do want to have an app that you guys will be able to download on iOS and Android, but that's probably months away once we iron out the portal version. I want to build something that scales to 10,000, 100,000. I want 1 million people to be able to learn about crypto through our free app. In the middle of Africa, we want to make it as easy to understand as possible for these people to download an app, get some stable coins. That's where I see the future going. Did you buy it on Coinbase? Coinbase are opening their doors to more listings at the moment. Following since posting about crypto for blokes, yes. Off the cuff thoughts. How does Brave browser stop YouTube ads? You've just got to turn on the shields and it'll block them. Puffin with Elon. Yeah, maybe. I wonder if Elon comes down to Tassie. There was that rumor a while ago Elon was talking to Power Ledger about something, but that never ended up. Nothing happened there. But I mean, he's building that solar farm. It would be awesome if those two ever did something together. Did anyone short SPX? No, I got stopped out of mine. That was a loser. More information on the pharmaceutical industry. Yeah, I mean, there's so many other rabbit holes that I want to take everyone down, things that I'm interested in, but I really want to see follow the crypto decentralization movement. Guys, so there's plenty of years ahead of us. Joe Rogan's been doing it for a long time now. And hopefully you guys can make some money on this journey and you guys have more freedom to do what you want and you listen to more podcasts as well. Travel the world. Pharmacology PhD student Jerry. Nice, Jerry. What did you study for your PhD? Psychedelics. You can help us with our psychedelic studies. Tim Ferriss is, the Noetics Institute. There's a lot of Bitcoiners that are already funding some of that stuff. New sub, welcome. Question: Aussie dollar to US dollar, Aussie dollar rise against US dollar like back in 2011. Gold in AUD would be cheaper now. It's all relative. I think even if the dollar went down, that gold would still go up more than what the Aussie dollar would go down. But hey, when people say, is it a good time to invest in gold in Australia? Well, it's not the best time. Even when we were raving about it a year or two ago, it's doubled. I was looking at gold when it was 1,100 Aussie, and now it nearly got to 3,000. You got to admit that that's a good run. Now's not as good a time to buy. Look elsewhere. Is maybe silver the place that's got the bit of risk to reward now? Maybe you say, you know what, I've missed that a little bit. I'm going to chase the US stocks because they haven't run yet, and you can use the GDX or the GXJ. Do some research and find individual stocks, or you just find another sector altogether. Maybe you're bullish on renewables. Maybe you're just going to say, right, I'm just going to stick to crypto and DeFi. You don't have to have eggs. What's the saying? Have all your eggs in one basket, or feel like you've got to spread them all out. Psychedelic edition. I've got a few friends that have done the full Amazon jungle experience, but I haven't done that yet. Mike Maloney's head's exploding every time I say money. Yes, I'm talking about currency. That's correct. Dan says, yeah, Gemma's, I'm signed in. It's signed into my wife's account on this other browser. That's the only way I could get the live chat working. I've never set it up on OBS, which I use to stream, so it's better than nothing. Axmon, message retracted. Someone's keeping things on the straight and narrow in the group. Thank you, whoever that is. What's the position at Nuggets News? We want someone to help. We're always looking to expand our research. You can research the 3 of us, 4 of us all day and still not even scratch the surface. There's that much going on in crypto. So, focus on definitely research, DeFi, finding the best projects, the best teams. But also we need, you need people skills. We want someone that can help out. We've got 1,800 people in our paid group now. It's nuts. We've had 500 people in the past 60 days. So we want to keep that as good as possible. All the beginners, we want them happy and learning. We want the advanced guys, feeling comfortable as well. So again, when we move to the portal and the app, that's going to make things even better again. Mad Cow blocks everyone. Good work, Mad Cow. You have been an OG, and you've been an OG with Omar as well. I've only been a member a few days, and I'm already so glad I joined. Doing a yearly thank you, Twiggy. Whenever people read those ones, I'm normally sus that it's one of their friends saying that or whatever. But I don't have any friends called Twiggy, so thank you, Twiggy. What was the cause of everyone buying shares in Hertz? I honestly don't know. I think that maybe those apps, you can sort them by whatever stock's going up and down the most, and retail investors were just saying, I'm going to buy whatever's down the most. There's 3 or 4 companies now that are all in liquidation or bankrupt, and they're going up the most. That stock, was it called Nikola, just because it's similar to Tesla and a competitor? It is nuts. There's a company in China called Fang something, and people got it confused with the Fang stocks, and that's going up. This is really dangerous stuff. You guys saw Zoom, when Zoom went up and that other company with a similar name went up. The CEC and the CFTC and all these regulators, they don't allow a Bitcoin ETF, for example. And they've been trying, the Winklevoss twins tried to get an ETF through back in 2000, I think 13 or 14. So that's not even a newish 2017 thing like a lot of people believe. So that's been 6 years, and they keep brick walling it. And yet we have all this other crap going on in the industry. For those of you that don't know about the silver manipulation case, that went on for years, and there was all this evidence of they were dumping these huge contracts of silver at 3 a.m. in the morning when there was no one trading and just putting the price down. And then they just dropped the investigation and said, oh, we didn't find anything. So, I mean, something is going on, and how much you want to believe it. And, it'll drive you nuts trying to find answers to these things. But you've just got to learn that, look, some people don't care. You're never going to really find out what's going on. It's only going to do your head in. So, be happy with what you think is going on and move on and do what you can about it. And if you can't do anything, then don't let it concern you. What did my parents lose on, Alex? Oh, I'm sure just all the usual stuff. The real estate investment trust, the Australian stock market, international shares. It didn't really matter what you owned, mad cow. Everything went down in the GFC. What's the latest rabbit hole you found yourself in? So I just find space so fascinating. Like how big and how unknown everything is. I think a lot of that can help with mental health as well. Like if you're having a bad day and then you actually stop and think about how big the universe is and how sort of insignificant everything is, I just think that puts things in perspective. I think like meditation and the martial arts and the judo side of things and the people with not superpowers but super strength, or these things that Western science can't explain, reflexes and force, and I think there's just something really interesting there that the Eastern world knows a lot about this, but Western science sort of dismiss it. Mind-body connection. If you want your mind blown, read up about a guy called Stuart Hameroff. So he's an anaesthetist, and in the world of pharmacy, we often find out that we know where a drug fits on a receptor, but we don't actually know exactly what it does or how it does what it does. So when you anesthetize someone, you're making them unconscious to perform surgery, for example. But we don't know what consciousness is. And so when you break that down, you're putting a chemical into someone's body. We know this chemical, the anesthetic, hits a receptor on their brain, but we don't know why consciousness stops. And he's done some really interesting work there. So when you combine that sort of like full-on modern medicine with the Eastern side of things and meditation, well, what is consciousness? He's done some really crazy research, and we don't have the answers to all those things. And I think, I just hope we find answers to all these things because it's just so interesting. Hey, George from Europe. Well, guys, I might favourite cricketer. Oh, geez. I lived with David Boone when I was in Hobart, so he was actually a family friend of ours. So I wanted to play cricket. I was a fairly decent cricketer and got a scholarship to move to Hobart and play cricket. Played in a premiership with Tim Payne, who's our Australian captain. We had a very good team in Hobart, and I guess I wasn't good enough to go to that next level up from first grade cricket to state cricket and whatever. But loved cricket. Still love cricket. Just signed up as a member. Where can you find reports? Under the units tab in the Facebook group, all the information. And pinned at the top of the page is the intro, and there's videos. We've just updated all the videos on how to find things, when I post, where's the research, where's the gold and silver reports. We've got new walkthrough guides for everything. Can't talk about OXT. Are you talking about Orchard, the privacy VPN project? I'm going to have them on the podcast soon. Forthcoming project launches. I'm interested to see how Polkadot goes, how the comp token goes, so Compound. I'm trying to talk to some guys at Opium, that is the name of this project, and they can do decentralized synthetic versions of tokens. So even if Polkadot doesn't list, they might be able to do like a synthetic version of it. So that's really cool. I guess the final thing is there's a lot of people that are looking to make videos on Ethereum and DeFi, like some documentary style things, because there's so many out about Bitcoin if you stop and think about it, but there's not a lot about ETH. I just think this space is so set to boom. And look, I copped a lot of crap and a lot of shit from a lot of people about, people thought that I was just pumping up ETH because I didn't used to talk about some of the other platforms as much, and it was always as big a percentage in my portfolio videos. I would always say that I'm, majority Bitcoin and ETH, and I think people are starting to understand why now. Do I listen to Ray Dalio? Yeah, I do like him. Favorite YouTubers, for crypto? I really don't get a lot of time these days. There's a lot of overlap. A lot of the guys on podcasts have crypto channels these days. I still get a lot of value out of Andreas's stuff. I'm trying to think who else I absolutely love when their videos come out. I mean, I just love the Real Vision interviews when they get these macro guys, and hopefully I can start to interview a few more of them now. No one really comes to mind. I mean, the chart guys helped me on my journey, just the basics. I think it's a mix. It's honestly probably 10 channels or so, and I just watch those to get a feel for the crypto community. Once you see them all start to talk about a project, like a Kyber, for example, you see it go all the way through from early stage research at Nuggets News to getting more exposure on Twitter, to going on YouTube channels, to getting popular. That turns up in like the sentiment data, and that's when you know you're on a winner. So when that process happens from start to finish, it might only happen once every month or every couple of months, but that's a really, really good feeling. Did I buy Tesla last year? No, I shorted it. I think live, didn't I, on a live stream when it had that bubble. Yes, you can keep all your crypto on an Exodus. Mainly speculative crypto at the moment. Depends what country you're in. What do you possess besides crypto? Yeah, we've got, so property's a lot cheaper in Tasmania. So I've got 2 properties down here. I want to build another house. I think it's undervalued. If anyone wants to live in Tassie, property's still undervalued. Yeah, I've got gold, and I'm quite happy sitting in US dollars or having money on the sidelines. You don't have to be invested in everything all the time. How much does membership cost? So it's 50 Aussie dollars, or that's about 30 US dollars a month, or 500 Aussie for a year, which is about 300 US dollars for a year. That will be going up once we launch all our new services, but we'll honor and have like a loyalty program for any current members. We won't put the price up for you guys. Who's Ainsley? So Ainsley Bullion is gold and silver. Guys, most of these questions, it's all on our website with all our free modules we've made to answer all this sort of stuff. So that's coming up to an hour. I hope you guys have enjoyed that off the cuff. That tile, for those of you that were really old, you'll remember when I made that logo with Microsoft Paint and we printed those t-shirts for the national tour we did in 2017. That was crazy, crazy times. That bubble felt so good to be in, didn't it? And then you live and you learn, and I certainly made some mistakes or things you do differently, things you continue to learn from. And I guess that's what I'm hungriest about now, like knowing that I've got my trading to a place where I can make good money particularly when things are moving. These altcoins lately, I just want to learn from mistakes. Hope you guys do the same. If we get into this full-on bull market, make sure we've learned, take these profits at the right times. I just think it's such a unique space. Where else would you rather be? I was saying in the group today that you can get 1% or less on a government bond, and here we are on these amazing returns in the cryptos. And yes, there's a lot of risk to reward, as people are saying this week. People learn from some of these old projects like HST. Ziv did a write-up on. Look, a lot of these projects are still alive and teams are still trying to get them back up and going. So that's all good to see as well. I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. That's been awesome. An hour, something a bit different. Yeah, I'll talk to you on Sunday when we do our big wrap up. And yeah, thanks for all your support. Here's to the next 3 years, I guess. Cheers.